Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cogniverse. This is a series about neurodiversity and specifically in the technology industry. Within this series, we'll be speaking to a host of leaders and thought leaders within the community to understand a bit more about this, evolve our mindset, and also hopefully make a big impact positively. So, firstly, I'd love to introduce the guest, Marco. In terms of how we're going to do this, we're going to run through some questions, and Marco's going to share his thoughts and some of his experiences in the field. So if you wouldn't mind, Marco, introducing yourself and a bit more about what you get up to.
Yeah, sure. And first of all, dear Anna, thanks for having me today at your podcast. Yeah, something about my journey. I'm a physician by training, and I've been always interested in the neuroscience aspect of our human conditions, especially from the perspective of how do we behave in a specific way. And I have been very lucky because, first of all, after my medical school, I had the chance to work in the hospital in the neurology and psychiatry department. And then I got the chance to work for many pharmaceutical companies in the clinical research field, and also in the I would say in the patient ecospace, where the product that has been launched, they have been used in different conditions in the neurologic and psychiatric field. So I have a very good understanding of the clinic, first of all, of the scientific work behind the new product, and then of course also related to the clinic. So what it happens once this product has been prescribed. And actually, I'm working as a consultant for a big consultancy, and I have two roles. On one side, I am senior consultant in digital health, that give me the chance to be involved in amazing project on the way of the digitalization in digital health or in healthcare. And on the other side, I am alive for mental health, mental well-being, and neurodiversity, which is a very important topic for my company. And this fantastic opportunity that you offer to me gives me the chance to talk about neurodiversity and its role in the IT tech, or in the tech workplace. And this is something that is very important because, first of all, talking about this topic can help to attract top talents worldwide on one side. On the other side, also to give this to give all the employees the chance to work in an environment where they can really flourish according to their strength. And just as a short disclaimer at the end, what I'm telling to you today, it reflects my personal opinion. It does not reflect necessarily the work I'm doing in my actual company or with past employees.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I really appreciate you doing this and also sharing your experience because it is so hands-on. Have you got experience in managing neurodiverse employees before now? Is this something you're looking to do?
You mean in the companies?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, absolutely. So in this in my actual company, I have indeed I've got the chance to be involved in the preparing and in the design and implementation of activities that should help neurodivergent persons. And I had also the chance also to coach and have one-on-one interaction with some of them, because in my role as ally, just people come to me and then they are asking for advices, recommendation, how to deal with a challenge that they have at work, or maybe just because they want to have so good recommendation on just to cope with with the challenge that everyone has, but they have I would say they have specific conditions that maybe trigger and accentuate the kind of burden that the worker in the working environment can have. And just let me maybe briefly introduce, so when we are speaking about neurodivergence, and this is something that really matters to me, we should have, I would say, the mental habit not to consider this as an illness, yeah, because I think society tend to use the label and transfer the perception of the label into the context of an illness. For example, yes, so the most typical, I would say, definition of neurodivergent comes from the clinic, when we are used to speak about autism, ADHD, which is the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder syndrome. We have dyslexia, and then in some situations they are also related to anxiety and depression that are reactive to the problems that the people have in the working environment. But to create and support an environment where they can really be appreciated for what they're doing, we should consider that this is just neurodiversity is a concept, is not an illness. And this concept recognize and respect the natural variation in the human neurological development. So this is something which is very important to me to say in this point. And yeah, and of course, because of my medical background, my neuroscientific background, and common sense, I try also to help the colleagues, the managers, and the company, the organization, in order to adapt and find good ways to create the best condition for this embracement of neurodivergent in the workplace.
Perfect. Thank you, because that was actually a really good sort of overview of neurodiversity and how it is sort of relevant in the tech industry. In terms of, I guess, discussing the various sort of, I guess, the neurodiverse conditions, or the sort of, like you said, it's not an illness, it's a difference in the neurological state. What are the sort of main ones that you can essentially recognize when working in the tech industry, whether it's autism, or I'm sure there are a lot more we just don't see as often?
Yeah, this is a good question, and it seems that some specific conditions are quite common. We should not say that these are the reasons why, but I would say that the reason indeed a correlation. So coming back to your question, the most common neurodivergent conditions that I have found and is also then reflected by the literature are indeed these four. I would say the autism spectrum disorder, the attention hyperactive syndrome, the ADHD syndrome, the dyslexia, and I would say also the complex of anxiety and depression. This is, for what I've found, are indeed the four major conditions that that can be found right now on the global level in the tech industry. And it's very interesting because, of course, one can try maybe to abstract some possible correlation, but I would not now discuss this because it can be just by coincidence, or it could be indeed that people that, for example, have autism spectrum disorder, maybe they tend to be more involved in activities that are close to the tech industry, but this is too speculative. But as a matter of fact, I would say that this is indeed what it happens right now. And again, so my message is to the people to the audience that is listening to this is each of these conditions are labels that are given by someone in in a clinical or in a hospital context. But before the person really, so every one of us, and also the neurodivergent, should be very, very careful and not to accept this diagnosis, this label, because this passive role can have really very bad and very negative influence for the whole life. So, for example, I would always recommend to ask for a second opinion. And then also the other part is, once the diagnosis has been confirmed, not to jump on the pharmacological treatment that nowadays is given to this kind of a person, because every pharmacological treatment has benefit, but has also very, very strong side effects that,
Sure.
again, can really create a different direction in the life of these people. And there are many, many natural ways to deal with that. And this is also part of my consultancy when someone comes to me.
Interesting. Thank you. And I guess it's about knowing there are alternatives as well. It's not just
Exactly.
one way that you have to go. There's lots of different options, and it's about opening that conversation and speaking to people like yourself. Okay, perfect. In terms of, I guess, in the workplaces, what are some of the challenges that neurodiverse employees that you've been around have faced in a workplace environment?
Yeah, well, I would say that, first of all, it depends on the conditions, but I would say that the major challenge that a neurodiverse employee may encounter are, number one, I would say sensory sensitivities, which means that the neurodiverse individuals, maybe they can have either a higher or a diminished sensory perception. For example, typically, when they are put in an open space working environment, which is very noisy or very crowded, they feel very fast overwhelmed, and this can lead, for example, to difficulties in concentration and productivity. That's why also the work environment aspect are very important to consider.
Mm.
Number one, the communication style can be very different. For example, let's take the example of the someone with an autism spectrum. In most cases, these are people that prefer a written communication rather a verbal conversation where they can be challenged. And the fact that the environment is not knowledgeable about the autism condition can lead, for example, to misunderstanding or misinterpretation. Like, for example, I had also the experience where the colleague started to say, this colleague is not able to speak with client, or he has problem to speak with client. And this is, of course, is a bad interpretation.
Right.
And I would say also the third part, which is very common, is also, again, typically the autism has a difficulty with executive function, for example, time management, organization, task prioritization. So typically, someone who has an autism spectrum, when this person starts the day and he has to deal at the same time with deadlines, new emails, a lot of new information, really the biggest struggles that this person has just at the beginning of the day is to understanding what is the structure of the day and how she or he can manage complex projects. Yeah, and this is really not trivial, because we are living in a world where, indeed, for example, time management is key, is number one in the way how we are dealing with different problems. And
Yeah.
it may be challenged for that. And this brings also the point that, knowing this, also the company and their environment, they should be very attentive in the way how they assess a specific task. And the worst thing that can happen is, for example, to give this person the role as project lead, where it will automatically put in a very difficult position just because of these challenges in the executing functioning of the brain that cannot be changed and resolved over time. So I would say over the years, this person can learn, but at the beginning is very challenging.
Okay, perfect. And I guess just discussing, you know, the difficulties that people can have. On the flip side, what are the potential benefits that you've seen that neurodiverse individuals can bring to a new team? You know, I guess opening outside of tech. What sort of benefits have you seen?
Yeah, and I'm thankful always for this aspect, because just it's important to speak openly about the skills that this person have. And in my experience now in my company, but also before, these are really amazing person. Really, a person that when they speak to me, they really touch my heart, because they are incredible. They are really hero for the way how hard they are dealing in the daily life. But they have also some specific skills. One of them is, for example, many of them, they have a very strong attention to detail and hyper focus. Yeah. So I know person that, for example, they can listen to the recording of 20 meetings over time. They can just listen, and then after 10 minutes, they say, the problem in this project is 1, 2, and 3. And this is exactly what the team has realized in 2 years. And this person has done this in just a few minutes. So this strong attention to detail and the hyper focus. Then just because they have this very strong capacity in divergent thinking, they are more creative in their solutions. Yeah, they do not have this tunnel view, but they can also enlarge the spectrum of perception, and they can bring creative ideas that nobody in the team would have thought about. So they are very strong, for example, in on one side in problem solving, and also improving the productivity and the creativity, where a different alternative angle perspective is needed to serve the client in the best way.
Perfect. Thank you. And if we're talking about sort of the environment that people are working in, and then moving into creating a more supportive environment, did you have any strategies that you could share to actually create more inclusivity and supportive natures at work for neurodiverse employees?
Well, yes, and of course there are some very good practice that we are also have already realized in our company. Just to mention the most important of them are, so first of all, related to the working space. For example, having flexible work arrangement, giving to the new employees and the onboarding clear instruction. Already we mentioned minimize the sensory distraction, and then offering right from the beginning mentorship and coaching programs that can help, for example, to navigate in the new company right from the beginning. This is on the top of that. What is very important is also to foster and create a culture of understanding and acceptance, because